Have you ever wondered why Rick James's name started trending years after his death? You're about to uncover the real gist, because James hid more than anyone would have imagined. Join us as we uncover the heartbreaking and terrible secrets Rick took to his grave. Rick James' chaotic lifestyle. From the onset, Rick James had a passion for music from a young age. He was always making noise, banging on glasses with spoons, and moving around as if he had music running through his veins. It was clear that he was meant for the stage. His 1988 album, Wonderful, included a popular song called Lucy's Rap, but his journey to success was anything but easy. Like most teenagers, Rick had his rebellious moments, but he was on another level. His early life was filled with experiences that shaped the person he became. James grew up surrounded by music and saw legendary performers like John Coltrane, Etta James, and Miles Davis. However, his childhood also exposed him to the darker side of life. He later claimed that he had his first intimate encounter when he was just 9 or 10 years old with a teenage girl. He believed that this early experience influenced his later music, which often carried bold and erotic themes. Before he became a star, Rick was part of a band called the Minnie Birds, where he performed alongside Neil Young. But his life wasn't all about music. He started using substances as a teenager. At first, he started from the less intoxicating substance until he migrated to another level. By the late 1960s, substance became a regular part of his lifestyle. Even though he claimed to have stopped using it after serving time in prison, his autopsy revealed that traces of the substance were still in his system at the time of his death. Rick's substance addiction caused serious health problems. In April 1984, he was found unconscious in his home and rushed to the hospital. By the 1990s, his addiction was public knowledge, and he admitted to spending around $7,000 per week on substance for 5 years straight. And because of this, his body paid the price. In 1998, he suffered a stroke while performing at a concert in Denver. Before that, he had to undergo hip replacement surgery because years of high-energy performances had damaged his bones. His wild lifestyle also led him into serious legal trouble. Rick once famously said that substance use was so powerful, and he certainly lived by those words. But substance use wasn't just dangerous, it was disastrous. His life was full of shocking moments. And one of the most horrible things happened in 1990 after an MC Hammer concert. That night, Rick decided to smoke, thinking it would be a great idea. But things went horribly wrong. According to his dealer, Rick accidentally set a plate on fire while trying to light up his smoke leftovers. Instead of reacting in panic, he walked around as if nothing had happened, even as his robe caught fire. His dealer had to jump in and put out the flames using a bedspread. But even after that, Rick acted like everything was normal and carried on as if nothing had happened. Rick James lived an unforgettable life, one filled with talent, excess, and controversy. His story is a wild ride of music, fame, addiction, crime, and survival. Even with all the trouble he faced, his influence on music remains undeniable. Speaking of trouble, have you ever wondered what happened between Rick and Prince? Well, with the little we already know about Rick, you might have to presume what happened. So let's explore more about this. Troubles and controversies. Between Rick and Prince, the rivalry between Rick James and Prince stands as one of the most captivating tales in music history, a saga of competition, ego, and the relentless pursuit of artistic dominance. Their feud, rich with drama and intensity, offers a window into the complexities of fame and the personal battles that often accompany artistic brilliance. In 1980, Rick James, then a towering figure in the funk scene, extended an invitation to the rising artist Prince to join his Fire It Up tour as the opening act. James, known for his electrifying performances and hits like Super Freak, recognized Prince's potential and believed that his inclusion would attract a broader audience, benefiting both artists. At the time, Prince was beginning to make waves with his unique blend of funk, rock, and R&B, and the opportunity to tour with James seemed like a perfect platform to showcase his talents. However, the tour soon became a battlefield of egos, and it was at that point that everything went messy. James perceived Prince's performances as a direct challenge, feeling that the younger artist was imitating his stage persona, from dance moves to flamboyant attire. This sentiment of being overshadowed on his own tour bred resentment in James, who had expected to be the undisputed star of the show. The tension between the two artists was palpable, with each performance giving a helping hand to the rivalry. The tension wasn't confined to the stage. Offstage incidents further fueled the feud. A particularly personal provocation occurred when Prince allegedly refused to sign an autograph for James's mother, an act that deeply offended James and nearly led to a physical confrontation between the two musicians. Such incidents added layers of personal grievance to their professional rivalry, making reconciliation increasingly unlikely. Their competitive nature extended beyond performances and personal slights. Both artists were pioneers, blending genres and pushing musical boundaries, leading to inevitable comparisons. James publicly criticized Prince's music, questioning its authenticity and expressing disbelief over its popularity. Adding more to what he has done, he couldn't comprehend why audiences were drawn to what he considered inferior work, a sentiment that only deepened his bitterness. The feud took on elements of tit-for-tat retaliation. James accused Prince of stealing his programmed synthesizers and using them on his 1981 album Street Songs, a claim that highlighted the deep mistrust between them. In response, Prince recruited Denise Matthews, James's date to the 1981 American Music Awards, to front his girl group, Vanity 6. This move was seen as a direct affront to James, especially since he had plans to launch his own girl group, the Mary Jane Girls. The rivalry had now seeped into their creative projects, with each artist trying to outdo the other, not just on stage, but also in their musical endeavors. Their interactions during the tour were fraught with tension. Accounts suggest that they would talk down on each other's performances, with incidents of pulling plugs and near physical confrontations. The atmosphere was charged with bitterness and tension, with each artist viewing the other, not just as a competitor, but as an enemy encroaching on their territory. This environment of constant one-upmanship created a toxic backdrop to what should have been a celebration of musical talent. As the 1980s progressed, the careers of James and Prince took divergent paths. Prince's star continued to rise, with groundbreaking albums like Purple Rain cementing his status as a musical genius. His ability to build himself again and adapt to the changing musical landscape kept him relevant and adored by fans worldwide. James, on the other hand, faced challenges, including struggles with substance use and legal issues, which impacted his career momentum. The very excesses that had once defined his flamboyant persona now threatened to scatter his career. Despite their rivalry, both artists left an indelible mark on the music world. Their feud, while personal, also highlighted the competitive spirit that often drives artists to greater heights. This particular feud served as a proof of their passion and commitment to their craft, that even amidst personal disagreements, they continued to push the boundaries of music. Their rivalry, in a way, made and redefined their genres, leaving a legacy that continues to influence artists today. Reflecting on their feud, it's evident that the rivalry between Rick James and Prince was more than just a personal dispute. It was filled with the pressures and challenges faced by artists breaking new ground. Both were innovators, blending genres and defying conventions. Their feud can be seen as a byproduct of their intense drive and the competitive nature of the music industry. In retrospect, their rivalry added a layer of intrigue to their personas. Fans and critics alike were drawn not just to their music, but also to the drama that unfolded between them. While their personal relationship was fraught with tension, it showed the complexities inherent in the world of entertainment, where ego, artistry, and ambition often collide. The feud between Rick James and Prince remains one of the most talked about rivalries in music history. It was a clash of titans, each vying for supremacy in a rapidly evolving musical landscape. Their story serves as a reminder of the thin line between admiration and rivalry, and how competition can both drive and challenge artists. Despite their differences, both left legacies that continue to influence and inspire musicians today. Their rivalry, filled with passion, jealousy, and a relentless pursuit of excellence, is a testament to the complexities of human relationships and the world of music. However, the Rick James and Prince feud is a story of two extraordinary talents, whose paths collided in a perfect storm of ambition and artistry. Their rivalry, while intense and often destructive, also pushed them to create some of the most memorable music of their era. You might be thinking that this is the only controversy he ever experienced. Well, flash news, we're even getting started. So watch out for more details about his wildlife. Various legal battles. Rick James, the flamboyant king of punk funk, was celebrated for his electrifying performances and hits like Super Freak. However, his career was marred by a series of serious allegations and legal troubles that cast a shadow over his musical legacy. Starting with this, in 1991, Rick James and his then-girlfriend, Tanya Hijazi, were arrested on charges of molesting and imprisoning a 24-year-old woman named Frances Alley. According to reports, the couple held Alley captive in James' Hollywood Hills home for several days. During this time, they allegedly tied her up, burned her with a hot crack for substance pipe, and forced her to perform erotic acts. This disturbing incident highlighted the darker aspects of James' life, contrasting sharply with his public persona as a music icon. While out on bail for the 1991 incident, James faced another accusation in 1992. He was charged with molestation of music executive Mary Sauger in a West Hollywood hotel room. The allegations painted a grim picture of James's behavior during this period, suggesting a pattern of violence and substance use. At this point, the battle line was drawn in James's life as these legal battles culminated in him being convicted of molestation in both cases. He was sentenced to over 2 years in prison, serving time from 1993 until his release in 1995. This period marked a significant downturn in his career, with his legal issues overshadowing his musical achievements. Years after his death in 2004, Rick James's legacy faced further scrutiny. In 2020, an anonymous woman filed a lawsuit against his estate, alleging that James had taken advantage of her in 1979 when she was just 50 years old. The woman claimed that the molestation took place at a group home for troubled youths in Buffalo, New York, where James had visited. She alleged that James entered her room, pinned her down, and took advantage of her, leaving her physically and emotionally scarred. This lawsuit was filed under New York's Child Victims Act, which allows survivors of childhood molestation to seek justice despite the passage of time. These allegations and convictions have undeniably impacted the way Rick James is remembered. While his contributions to music remain significant, the serious nature of these accusations has led to a more complex, and for some, a more critical evaluation of his legacy. To fully understand this, let's take a step back to his early life. James's early life and upbringing. James Ambrose Johnson, Jr., known to the world as Rick James, was born on February 1, 1948, in Buffalo, New York. Growing up in a challenging environment, Rick was the third of 8 children in a family where his father abandoned them early on. His mother, Mabel, worked as a dancer and later as a numbers runner to support her children. This exposure to the nightlife introduced young Rick to the world of music and hustling, shaping his flamboyant persona. From an early age, Rick showed a keen interest in music. He would often bang on pots, pans, and anything that could produce rhythm, showcasing his innate musical talent. However, his rebellious nature led him into trouble during his teenage years. To avoid being drafted into the Army, Rick joined the U.S. Naval Reserve, but his disdain for authority led him to desert the Navy, and he fled to Toronto, Canada, in the mid-1960s. In Toronto, Rick immersed himself in the local music scene. He formed a band called the Mina Birds, which uniquely blended rock and R&B. Luckily for them, the group gained some recognition and even secured a deal with Motown Records. Interestingly, one of his bandmates was Neil Young, who would later become a rock legend. However, Rick's past caught up with him. His deserter status was discovered, leading to his arrest and the band's dissolution. After serving time and resolving his legal issues, Rick returned to the U.S. and settled in California. He reinvented himself, adopting the name Rick James and diving deeper into his musical ambitions. By the late 1970s, Rick had developed a distinctive sound he dubbed punk funk, a fusion of funk rhythms with rock and punk elements. This innovative style set him apart in the music industry. Now, everything is becoming more realistic to him as he released his debut album, Come Get It, which featured hits like You and I and Mary Jane in 1978. The album's success established him as a formidable force in the funk genre. His energetic performances, characterized by his braided hair, flashy outfits, and dynamic stage presence, captivated audiences nationwide. The breakthrough moment, or you can call it the peak of Rick's career, came in 1981 with the release of the album Street Songs. This record included the iconic track Super Freak, which became a defining song of the era. The song's catchy bass line and provocative lyrics made it a crossover hit, appealing to both R&B and pop audiences. Street Songs not only marked Rick's status in the music world, but also influenced future artists across various genres. Beyond his solo success, Rick played an important role in shaping the careers of other artists. He introduced the world to the Mary Jane Girls, an all-female group known for their sultry performances and hits like In My House. Rick also collaborated with renowned artists such as Smokey Robinson and The Temptations, producing tracks that blended traditional Motown sounds with his signature funk style. However, as Rick's fame increased, so did his luxury in the rock and roll lifestyle. The pressures of stardom, coupled with personal demons, led him down a path of excessive substance use and erratic behavior. By the late 1980s, his career began to decline as his personal life spiraled out of control. In the early 1990s, Rick faced serious legal troubles that further tarnished his reputation. These incidents led to convictions and prison time, marking a significant fall from grace for the once celebrated funk star. After serving his sentence, Rick attempted a comeback in the late 1990s. However, his efforts flew into the thin air. He released new music and made appearances, but he struggled to reclaim his former glory in an industry that had evolved during his absence. Despite his troublesome life, Rick's influence on music remained evident. His songs were sampled by numerous artists, most notably MC Hammer, who used the Super Freak riff in his 1990 hit You Can't Touch This. This resurgence introduced Rick's music to a new generation, cementing his legacy in popular culture. Tragically, on August 6, 2004, Rick James was found lifeless in his Los Angeles home at the age of 56. The official cause of death was a heart attack, with various health issues and substance use cited as contributing factors. His passing marked the end of a troublesome yet impactful journey in the world of music. Rick James' life was a tapestry of musical genius intertwined with personal struggles. His ability to blend genres and push boundaries left an indelible mark on the music industry. While his career was marred by controversies, his contributions to funk and popular music continue to resonate. Today, Rick James is remembered not only for his musical innovations, but also for his larger-than-life persona. Away from celebrating his elegant legacy, it is necessary to unveil what his personal life and relationships looked like. Maybe we could connect some dots in his life after this revelation. James's private life. Rick's early exposure to the vibrant nightlife through his mother's work as a dancer and Numbers Runner introduced him to both the allure and the darker sides of the entertainment world. This environment played a significant role in shaping his flamboyant persona and his eventual struggles with substance use. In his personal life, Rick had several relationships and fathered 4 children: Rick Jr., Trey Hardesty, Tasman, and Ty. His relationships were often as chaotic as his career, marked by passion and conflict, reflecting the intensity he brought to his music. Rick's friendships in the music industry were notable, particularly his early collaboration with Neil Young in the Minor Birds, a band that uniquely blended rock and R&B. These connections enriched his musical style, but also introduced him to lifestyles that fueled his existing tendencies toward excess, making his life more interesting. In the late 1970s, James was involved with Seville Morgan, a singer and songwriter. Together they had 2 children, a daughter named Tyanza and a son, Rick Jr. This period was significant for James, both personally and professionally, as he balanced fatherhood with his rising fame. Between 1982 and 1984, James dated actress Linda Blair. Their relationship began after James read an interview where Blair mentioned finding him attractive. He reached out, and they quickly connected. During their time together, Blair became pregnant, but chose to have an abortion. This decision deeply affected James, leading him to reflect on how having the child might have changed his life. This one will thrill you. Do you know that it was their intense relationship that inspired James's hit song, Cold Blooded? Well, now you know. After her, in 1989, James met Tanya Hijazi, a 17-year-old partygoer. They began dating, and in 1993, they welcomed their son, Tasman. After facing legal troubles and serving time in prison, both James and Hijazi were released and married in 1996. Just like others, they still went separate ways because their marriage only lasted until 2002. So what do you think about Rick James's life? Do you think his legacy still shines on irrespective of how he was involved in scandals? Let us know in the comment section. If you want more interesting revelations about your favorite celebrities, be sure to like, subscribe, and watch the next video shown on your screen. See you there.